The Hypocrisy of Penguin Selective Outrage by Remy. All right, let's go ahead and see what he has to say about Penguin. Now, Penguin is somebody that's a very, very unique person. I never really found his videos very, very interesting or entertaining, but a lot of people did. I mean, he has what, over 13 to 14 million subscribers, which is a lot, So perhaps people do find him very entertaining. Personally, I'm not one of them. And then, there was a saga that happened where he had a debate with Sneeko, and obviously we saw a lot of inconsistency that he has to say, especially when it comes to the Alphabet Mafia, which tells me a lot that I need to know. A lot of these people, a lot of these YouTubers, one thing you have to understand is they have the mindset of get the bread, any means necessary. And to be quite honest with you, it works. You do get the money, but it comes at a price. And a lot of the time, it's not worth it. With that being said, let's see exactly what he was very, very, hypocritical about.
Before we get started, if you guys want to learn how to speak Arabic easily, if your friends ruin their reputation, last night I saw it out. You can get a free turn. Before we get started, if you guys want to learn how to speak Arabic easily, then download the Kalam app. It's a fun and hassle-free way to learn and practice your Arabic. And if you're thinking about it but you're not sure, then just try it out. You can get a free trial using code RAMI. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and welcome back to the channel. Last night I saw a video from Penguin Zero where he speaks about how certain comedians ruin their reputation by performing at a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia and making a lot of money doing it. Now, I found this video to be particularly strange because of the criticisms that he brings to light. I'm going to play the clip so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Then I'm going to come back and discuss.
There was a Saudi Arabian royal family-backed Riyadh comedy festival where basically every comedian with a pulse got paid a bag to go perform in Riyadh. And pretty much all of them did it with a big old smile on their face, and now that they've finished it, they're doing their best mental gymnastics to justify why it's actually not a big thing and they're not hypocrites for doing it. For those...
First of all, I also want to go ahead and allude to the fact that I don't know if he has made any video about musicians, because musicians also do go over there and perform, even though it's not, it shouldn't be allowed because it's a Muslim country and a lot of these musicians are kind of half naked on the stage and stuff like that. But I don't know if he made any video on that. And if he did, I'll take back what I said. But if he hasn't, he should, bro. Because it's starting to look like a hypocrite. Now the comedians are trying to pretty much do the same thing that musicians are doing. And yet they get backlash and the musicians don't. You get what I'm saying.
That don't know, Saudi Arabia has a multitude of human rights violations. One of the biggest ones that make the comedians in particular look like hypocrites is their complete disregard for freedom of speech. Like, that doesn't exist there. They execute.
He does realize that the Israelis are pretty much buying out social media here in the United States and censoring people's speech on there to prevent them from criticizing the state of Israel, right? I mean, he does realize that. Has he made any video on that? I wonder.
People for some of the things they say.
So this first issue that he's very adamant on is this issue of human rights violations in Saudi Arabia. Now, I'm not saying any of that is false. I think that is probably demonstrably true. But my issue here is, why is it only a problem when a Muslim Arab nation does it? And why is it only a problem when an American somehow contributes to or supports a Muslim or Arab country that commits these violations? I'm not the biggest fan of Saudi Arabia myself, even as a Muslim, but...
Neither am I. I have a lot to say about that place. I have a lot to say about it. But I'm going to go ahead and hold my tongue because, yeah.
I'm able to be critical across the board. And what's very disheartening for me as a Palestinian is that Charlie has not once spoken out against Israel, spoken out against the genocide that Israel's committing in Palestine right now. And some people might say, well, he doesn't want to get involved. It's political, it's messy. And okay, some people don't want to. But here he's getting involved in Saudi Arabia's politics. He's getting involved in American comedians, I guess, and Saudi Arabia. So if he wanted to avoid it, he should avoid it altogether. But why are you...
You got to understand, my brother. Brother Remy, you got to understand. Get to the bag any means necessary. And you also have to avoid ways that will stop you from getting to the bag. Any means necessary. Even if that means turning a blind eye to a bunch of innocent people being unalive by the people who are paying you. Welcome to the 21st century, my brother. Our morals have hit all-time low. We like to pay attention to the national debt. We like to pay attention to, crimes and stuff like that are happening in cities and state and education and stuff. but nobody seems to ever pay attention to the morality when it comes to the society. Damn, I'm on roll today when it comes to rhymes. But you get what I'm saying? Although America may be extremely sophisticated when it comes to technology, it is morally bankrupt. And we see that now.
Going to speak about the Arab Muslim country that commits violations and not the Jewish Zionist entity that's committing violations. Violation is an understatement, committing a genocide in Palestine and Gaza right now. In the span of 1 year, Israel has bombed Palestine, Lebanon, Iran, Syria, and Qatar. They're a peaceful country. They're trying to mediate and organize peace deals. And now someone might say, well, Charlie's just being critical of the American comedians who performed there, not of Saudi Arabia themselves, so to speak. Okay, then why is he not critical of Nikki Haley, who was a former ambassador to the US when she went to Israel while they're committing the genocide and signed a missile that was probably dropped on kids later? She signed a missile saying America hearts Israel always. He didn't speak about that. He didn't speak about how Jerry Seinfeld and Michael Rappaport, as terrible comedians as they are, went and performed in Israel and stood up for Israel while they're committing a genocide. And your government currently, right now, is introducing a bill to take people's passports away. Yes, American citizens to steal their passports if they're critical of Israel. Why have you not spoken about the fact that AIPAC is paying millions of dollars to your congressmen and congresswomen to pass bills in favor of Israel like the one I just mentioned? And it's funny because Charlie's, and by the way, this is not a hit piece. I'm not trying to make a hit piece against Charlie. I just want people to be aware of the situation in Palestine and Gaza. I don't want people to go criticize Arab Muslims and that's it, and then allow everyone else to get away with everything they do to Arab Muslims in our own countries. So why not speak about the things that I mentioned? And it's funny because America doesn't commit human rights violations against their own people in their own country, but they commit human rights violations to other people in other countries. Guantanamo Bay has, as a matter of fact, innocent people in there. Guantanamo Bay, not everyone in there is a criminal or a wrongdoer. I interviewed one of them on a podcast that I held called The Three Muslims. They commit all kinds of human rights violations. They committed human rights violations in Iraq when they said there were weapons of mass destruction.
Look-y, this guy looked like the white version of Barack Obama. I don't know. It's just like, that's the first dude that came to mind when I said that. Well, despite that, yes, America has committed a lot of war crime all over the world, and they have done a lot of atrocity. And yeah, nobody is locked up. Why? Simple, because the people in power are happy. But, you know, nothing in this world goes unseen. I just want to go ahead and allude to that. Nothing in this world goes unseen.
There were none. So is a government bad when they commit human rights violations against their own people but nobody else? Or are they bad when they commit human rights violations against other people but not their own people? Or are they bad when they commit human rights violations, period, at all? And I'm honestly just getting very, very sick and tired, especially as a Muslim, Canadian, Palestinian. I'm very sick and tired of how easy it is for people to just talk bad about Muslims, to talk bad about Arabs, to talk bad about the things that these Muslim Arabs do in their own countries and here when they come here. It's so easy for people to say things like this. But to criticize the Zionists, to criticize Israel, there are some people who even still to this day, after it's basically been proven that Israel's committing a genocide, still to this day, they find it difficult to speak out against Israel, to be like, hey, you should not kill children. It's just a very weak thing. And now that brings me to the topic of free speech. Another point Charlie mentioned is, hey, well, they don't have free speech there.
One of the biggest ones that make the comedians in particular look like hypocrites is their complete disregard for freedom of speech. Like, that doesn't exist there. They execute people for some of the things they say. And Dave Chappelle, in particular, has just released a little statement that I think is so laughably delusional that I cannot help but shoot spitballs at it. He unironically said that it's easier to talk in Saudi Arabia than it is in America. Dave, to even perform there, you signed a contract that expressly forbid you from talking about or joking about things that may be considered to degrade, defame, or bring into public disrepute, contempt, scandal, embarrassment, or ridicule Saudi Arabia, its ruling government, royal family, or any religion or any religious figure, period.
And
before he continue, let me also say this. This was also said by Dave Chappelle himself, that when he went on the SNL skit, yeah, he was told not to speak about Palestine. Yeah. Maybe there's more that he wasn't allowed to speak about, but this is one thing that he said. This was here in America, by the way. And so eventually we understand that in the end, he did end up saying something about it when he said whether it's the Palestine or the Palisade that, Trump should do something about it. You get what I'm saying? So yes, Saudi Arabia may have more rules, but understand that here in America, somebody as big as Dave Chappelle, who has voice to millions, guess what? When he goes and perform, he has to sign contracts saying that you are not allowed to talk about this type of these sorts of things. And even if he doesn't sign the contract, guess what? He knows that he cannot talk about these things because his career would be jeopardized if he says anything about it. You see how inconsistent these people are, especially when it comes to YouTube? And yes, they make it easy to criticize Muslims because we understand that the people in power do not like Muslims. Why? Because they want to continue to keep blowing up Muslims. And the more and more you demonize Muslims, the more and more they're going to feel free to do whatever they want with Muslims.
Granted, to be fair, he mentioned this because Dave Chappelle said that it's easier to speak in Saudi Arabia than it is in America because of cancel culture. And yes, that is ironic as hell. It's funny. That should have been the joke itself, to be honest, because it's not true. I believe what he was referring to was the Charlie Kirk thing, because he can joke about Charlie Kirk in Saudi because no one cares. But in America, people have actually been killed from, downplaying the death of Charlie Kirk and joke.
And fired. Jimmy Kimmel
about it just by random people, not by the government itself. But at the same time, to pretend that there's free speech in America is hilarious. It's actually laughable. There are some things you can't joke about without losing your job, losing your livelihood, getting banned off social media, and now because of your government introducing this new bill without the risk of losing your passport. And I don't want to go on a free speech tangent here, but there is no such thing as free speech. You will never have 100% free speech where you can say literally anything in the world.
Nope.
Because you will always have certain laws that prohibit certain types of speech against certain people.
That's why the people who say, oh, I'm a free speech absolutist, I'm like, that's laughable. I'm not gonna lie to you, like, that's just laughable, to be quite honest with you, because there's no such thing as free speech absolutist. It doesn't exist. You may think it does. It doesn't. The only reason people have been fed the idea that they have free speech in America is because I am allowed to criticize the American government. The reason that is because the American government is not in control. Tucker Carlson recently just said it. During the 12-day war in Iran and Israel, guess what? The Israelis were barging into the Pentagon and demanding that the generals in the Pentagon would take action to go drop the B-2 bomber or whatever it is that you call on the Iran. Think about that. Now you know who's in control. Now you know why I'm free to criticize the American government, but I'm not free to criticize the Israeli government. It might as well be the United States of Israel now. And if you put it in that context, guess what? Freedom of speech doesn't exist. Because if I criticize the state of Israel, guess what? They can come after me and take away my job and completely destroy my life.
Minorities, ethnic groups, religions, and these laws should be in there. You should not have the right to go and say hateful, demeaning, racist things against a group of people. And I'm sure Charlie and anyone else would agree with this. So the concept of free speech is out the window. What we're really speaking about is acceptable speech. What speech is deemed acceptable? In Saudi Arabia, they have some forms of speech that they deem acceptable. In America, you have other forms that you think are acceptable. In Saudi Arabia, it's unacceptable to speak out against the crown prince and against the royal family and whatever else. And in America, it's unacceptable speech to speak out against Israel. And again, I'm not defending Saudi Arabia. I'm not a fan of them. This is not a defense of them. I'm not an apologist for them. There are things that they're doing that are wrong, even from an Islamic perspective, things they should not be doing. But the point of this video is to point out the hypocrisy. I'm a Palestinian. I don't live in Palestine because my family fled because of Zionist terrorism. They've been doing this to my people for 75 years. And now to hear people speak about how, oh, this Arab Muslim country is doing this bad thing, what about us? We're not that far. We're in the Middle East as well. What's been happening to us is terrible. It's been going on for 75 years. And the whole world knows. If this was 10 years ago, I wouldn't be as upset because a lot of people are just ignorant. But now everybody knows. I know for a fact Charlie knows that Israel's committing a genocide in Palestine because Everyone's speaking about it. The UN, every human rights organization, all the mainstream media outlets, YouTube, everyone's talking about it. So he definitely knows. He's at least heard that statement before in the last year or two, but has not spoken about it. And I'm not here to be the morality police. Again, I'm going to end with this point. I'm not here to be the morality police because there are so many countries undergoing so many different tragedies like Myanmar, Sudan, Congo, Palestine, so many countries that I don't expect everyone to be aware of everything. But I know for a fact Palestine, since it's been so globalized, people know about it. I know that Charlie does as well. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, the hypocrisy is just completely astounding. Perhaps Charlie is one of those people who got money under the table to speak about, Muslim, but he of course has to make sure that he doesn't go too hard and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Because we know now. Now we know, even though this has been going on for God knows how long, but we now understand that the Israeli has been paying influencers to go ahead and push Hasbara on the American people. So those of you out there who is watching my video, and if you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But those of you out there who is watching any of these big major YouTubers out there and stuff like that, understand that they might be a part of Israeli propaganda to brainwash you into supporting the genocide that's going on in the Middle East. And so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. If you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys up later.